Welcome on in. My name is PJ. This is a raid Shadowlands video, and today's video we're going to be going over the new fusion here starting September 22nd. That is Monday, September 22nd, so keep that in mind when the fusions start. We got a new one, new dwarf, Granyt Doorkeep. He is a dwarf fusion, HP base, legendary spirit champion, and let's take a look at his kit. So A1 attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 75% chance of removing one random buff from the target. Each hit will ignore 20% of the target's defense, and that books up to a 100% chance. So just off the A1, that's a really strong A1. Triple hitter, 100% chance of removing one random buff each hit, so you have a chance of removing 3 buffs. They're not protected, and then also each hit ignores 20% of the target's defense. So it looks like it's going to hit pretty hard with the ignored defense, then also brings some nice utility with the buff removal. So A1 looks really nice. Take a look at the A2. This is a 4-turn, books down to a 3-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies before attacking, places a 50% increased accuracy buff for all allies for 2 turns. Has a 75, books up to 100% chance of placing decreased defense and block buffs, debuffs on allies for 2 turns. So this reminds me very similar to Uugo. Also something that we got recently, Greco's Turn Drake, the decreased defense block buffs. Very solid for Hydra. This one's pretty nice because he brings increased accuracy and he puts it before he attacks on all allies, so you don't necessarily have to bring a lot of accuracy with him. You can give him very minimal, and then with the increased accuracy plus area bonus, all that kind of stuff, great haul, you should be able to have enough accuracy to land the debuff. So that's pretty nice. You can build him with more speed, with more damage, and not really have to worry about the accuracy as much because he does that before attacking. Very nice move. So that's going to be a 3-turn, decreased defense, block buffs, also with the increased accuracy all allies. Not bad. Hold up, guys. Now is the perfect time to click on my link in the description and get a free Karato as well as 4 more insane free epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Step 1, log out of player and play on PC and uninstall. Step 2, click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Step 3, launch raid and complete the tutorial. Step 4, go to the inbox and claim your first champion. Don't miss out on your chance to get a free Karato after signing up, as well as Uugo, Rector Drath, Tagoar, and Mausoleum Mage as you progress through the game. So click on my link right now and let's crush this together. And then we got the A3. This is a 5-turn, books down to a 4-turn cooldown. Attacks one enemy before attacking, removes all debuffs from this champion, and places a 15% shatter buff and a 30% increased crit damage buff on all allies for 2 turns. Will ignore unkillable, stone skin, and block damage buff. If the target is not under any unkillable, stone skin, and block damage buff, this attack will ignore 100% more damage. Grants an extra turn if this attack kills an enemy. Wow, okay, so this is, I think, the second time we're seeing Shatter. I know that, I'm pretty sure that Karato, one of the newer mythicals, has Shatter. The big version, this 15%, and then I think another dwarf might have the small version of Shatter. But Shatter is a very new buff that's into the game. This looks really cool with Karato being the only other person with the big Shatter. This makes him really unique. So that might be one reason why just to go for this guy, just because of the shatter buff on all allies is pretty cool. So it looks like he's supposed to be a damage dealer and also some type of support. So this is going to really vary on his multipliers. We don't know his multipliers. We haven't seen any test server. We haven't seen how hard he hits. So that is going to play a little bit of a factor into if you guys should go for him or not. But even if he doesn't hit hard, I think that the shatter and the increased crit damage, the decreased defense block buffs, increased accuracy still could be enough to potentially go for him even if he doesn't hit the hardest. So I'm going to take a look at a little bit more of the A3. So Arena, Stone Skin, Unkillable, block damage definitely everywhere. A lot of champions bring these, are very common to live arena teams, very common to classic arena 3v3. The issue that I'm kind of having with this is I'm kind of worried about how hard it's going to hit, because it's doing it's dealing 100% more damage if they're not under the unkillable stone skin or block damage, but they're most likely going to be for PvP. So scares me a little bit. Hopefully he has good multipliers and this can hit. But that extra turn is really nice to cycle back through to your A2, your A1, and then get back to the A3 again. We'll see. I'm very interested to see what the shatter and the increased crit damage. The other thing that this will be nice with is for Faction Wars. Faction Wars hard. We just had Thowlin recently, which was a really good fusion. I should have mentioned this earlier, but I wish they would have done someone not dwarf related, or not like a dwarf fusion. I feel like we just had a dwarf fusion with Thowlin, and there's a lot of other areas in the game that other F factions that we need help with. besides dwarves, so not really too happy with that. But back to the faction wars. There are a few stages where I think you need a certain amount of buffs, where you might need like 10 buffs on your champions. This could definitely help if you're struggling with that. I think that was one of the ones I'm struggling with, is getting enough buffs on the enemy, or buffs on my allies, and then to kill the enemies with it. So this could help with that. Bringing the shatter, increased crit damage would be, I think, 2 new buffs to that. So it would help there. Hydra should be hitting pretty hard, especially if they're not under any unkillable stones here block damage, which they shouldn't be for Hydra. Doing 100% more damage should be a lot. Sadly, you're not going to get the extra turn because decapitating a head doesn't count for killing an enemy, so you'll lose the extra turn for a lot of boss content, but you'll usually get that 100% more damage, so it could be a good give and take. Let's take a look at the passive. At the start of this champion's turn, it removes any fear, true fear, provoke, stun, freeze, sleep, petrification debuff on this champion. Increase this champion's damage inflicted against targets with no buffs on them by 20%. Very similar to Fabian's passive, and Fabian has amazing passive where he can't get hard crowd control. He removes it at the start of his turn. This is very similar. This is going to be good for Arena. These fear, true fear, like all the hard control, stun, freeze, sleep, petrification, they're used a lot in Arena, so not being able to get control locked out is big. That is one of the main reasons, or main ways people win Arena, is going really fast and controlling the other team, not letting them take any turns, not letting them use any active skills. So not being able to get controlled is very nice. Should help him take his turns and do some damage. The second part of this, increases champion's damage inflicted against targets with no buffs, is a little, I feel like, counterproductive for the kit. Like, I get it, because ideally you're going to have the decreased defense, you'll have block buffs on the enemy, so then they won't get buffs. But for the A2, if you're hitting into unkillable, if you're hitting into the stones, if you're hitting the block damage, then you're 1, not getting the extra 100% more damage, and then you're 2, you're also not getting the 20% more damage here, because they're gonna have buffs. The stone skin, unkillable, block damage, obviously they're buffs, so you'll be losing out on a lot of damage there, which kind of scares me. If he doesn't have insane multipliers to begin with, then he might have to really rely on this bonus damage, and if you don't get the bonus damage, he doesn't hit that hard. If he doesn't hit that hard, he doesn't really do his job, because he's supposed to be a nuker, or just depending on how you're using him. If you're using him for a nuker and he doesn't hit hard, then not really good. That's kind of the whole point of a nuker, is to kill them. And then we have the aura, increase ally crit rate in all battles by 20%. Nothing too crazy, solid. How do we feel and what do we think about him? Overall, he has an interesting kit. This obviously depending on multipliers and how hard he hits and not hit. I like the kit overall. I think it's pretty cool. I like the A1 a lot. The triple hitter, 100% chance of removing 1 random buff for each hit, also ignoring 20% of target's defense. I think that could really hit hard. I like the A2, increased accuracy before placing the decreased defense and block buffs is really nice. And then I like the A3. The shatter is really cool. Could make it easier to build some of your champions with, maybe you don't need as much ignore defense in other areas. So maybe you can get away with running, maybe you don't need savage anymore. Maybe you don't need lethal. Maybe you can run the shatter buff with, if you have Crushing Rend, if you have 6-star Crushing Rend, then that's going to be ignoring a bunch of defense. If you have the area bonus, that's going to be ignoring a bunch of defense and Hydra. So this could maybe start opening up the game to getting your damage dealers out of ignore defense sets and maybe into some other sets, which would be kind of interesting. I'm not sure what those sets would be, but I just think that the opportunity that is out there now with adding Shatter, increased crit damage on the same move could be very strong. Generally, HP nukers don't hit that hard, so that's also kind of a concern. Granted, we have Taurus, we have Narcissus, we have Leonardo, who hit very strong, but then there's some other HP nukers that don't really hit as hard, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they decide to give the multipliers for him. Overall, let me know if you guys are going to go for him or not going to go for him. If you guys think this is a must-do or a skip. I know a lot of people recently have been hoping for not a good fusion. They've been kind of burnt out with the resources and they were looking for a reason to skip. I'm not sure if this is going to be the dude to do it or not. I could see a lot of people saying this is just like I know a lot of people were saying that Greco's Turndrake was like a legendary Uugo, but kind of worse because you have to use legendary books. Why not just use Uugo? I could see people saying the same thing for this dude maybe. It's like, why not just use Uugo as an epic, save your books. But I think he brings a lot of other things that Uugo necessarily doesn't bring, especially if you can do some damage on top of the good buffs and the good debuffs. I think that could be very, very strong, and especially like Hydra. Maybe you could use him in Chimera. Don't really see it as much, but I think Hydra could be usable, and depending on multipliers, PvP, he could be good as well. As I was rewatching the video, I realized I made a little bit of a mistake. I mentioned HP nukers, and I talked about Leo. He's not HP nuker, he's a defense nuker. I was getting kind of mixed up because of his A3 is very similar to Taurus's, so I was just getting that mixed up. But Shredder is kind of meh. Like Fatalis is kind of meh. Granted, they are both limited time champions, so you don't really want them to be super OP, because then if you're not playing when they're available and you can never get them. So it's understandable that they're not crazy strong, but they're also kind of better for longer fights, which doesn't really work in this meta of arena where it's kind of fast fights. If they were somehow good in Hydra or Chimera for that longer battle, you would see them do better damage because they kind of ramp up over time. Another champion like Arashi doesn't necessarily hit the hardest, so depending on the multipliers, we'll see how it is. The other thing that I forgot to mention in the video is if I'm going to go for him or not. So I usually go for every fusion. I like doing fusions. I save my resources for them personally. I'd rather get them and never use them than not get them and need them. But do you guys need them? I don't think this dude's necessarily a must get. Really depending on his multipliers. He looks cool, but if you guys need a break or anything like that, don't think you're gonna have to get this guy. Again, depending on the test server, we'll have to see. We'll maybe have to redo this video later depending on how good he does. But yeah, maybe you can take a break if you're feeling burnt out. If you like doing fusions, I think he looks cool. I think he'll be definitely usable for faction wars, late game, end game, early game, maybe some arena depending on how hard he hits. So yeah, I'll be getting him. Just wanted to put that in the video.